Details of the Penguins-Panthers Derick Brassard trade. This was an interesting one. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, let's talk about the brass tacks here. The Panthers get 31-year-old center Derick Brassard and 27-year-old center / left winger Riley Sheenan. They also get a Pittsburgh second-round pick and two of their fourth-round picks, one of which is originally from Minnesota. The Penguins get 22-year-old center / left wing Jared McCann. They also get right wing / center Nick Bjugstad. So let's get into the Pittsburgh end of it first. Now, starting with Jared McCann, he's 6'1". He's a left shot. He's 198 pounds. Excuse me. So far this season, in 46 games played, he's had 8 goals, 10 assists for 18 points, and he was a -9. His shooting percentage was around 10.3, not terrible, but and his face-off percentage was about 45.6. Ouch. Last season, he in 68 games played, he had 9 goals and 19 assists for 28 points, and he was a +11. And what's the big difference there? We'll get to that. Now, he signed through the 1920 season. So this year and next season, in which he'll be an RFA, he's paid $1.25 million AAV. And he was originally a 2014 pick who went 24th overall in the first round from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, Gerard McCann was playing, I want to say, fourth line center last season, and then he was bumped to up to the third line center, in which he really excelled. The coach showed a lot of confidence in him, and vice versa, and he paid dividends for that. Now, what happened up here in this season so far is that Vincent Trocheck went down with injury for I want to say like 4 months. The Panthers' second line center. And McCann sort of stepped into that role, and he didn't really excel at it. I think things like his shooting percentage, his face-off percentage, going up against tougher competition, didn't suit him well, and his numbers slipped because of it. I think he's really suited more so for that third-line center role, but in Pittsburgh, at least to start, he may only see that fourth-line center role. Because Nick Bjugstad, there's talk that Pittsburgh may slide Nick Bjugstad back from the wing, back into his natural center position. Now, Florida, when Florida took him from center and slid him to the wing, where he wasn't as much of a defensive liability because he had issues with that, his numbers also bumped up, and he had a better season. Now, so far, 32 games this season, he hasn't done much. He has 5 goals and 7 assists for 12 points, and he was a +2. That's the best +- on the Florida Panthers team so far this season. Yeah. And then last season, Nick Bjugstad, in 82 games played, which I think is his first season which he played the whole year, he had 19 goals and 30 assists and 49 points for a +5. So bumping him to that winger position really paid dividends for the Panthers, and he did well. So there was a bit of a slide this season, but you could say that of a lot of the Panthers, with the exception of the first line, that is, and maybe Vincent Trocheck. And then, of course, he had his best season for goals / points was in 2014-15, where he had 24 goals. So he's capable of more, and he's still young, relatively young. He's 26. Now, he's signed through the 2021 season, so they have him for the rest of this season, next season, and the season after. And he has a modified no-trade clause, in which case he'll become a UFA, and right now he's making 4.1 average annual value, and he was initially drafted by the Panthers in 2010 in the first round, being 19th overall. Now, the sum of this deal, Pittsburgh basically is going to be paying $5.35 billion buckaroos for both these guys, and the change between The players going the other way is about a plus $250,000. So yeah, what is Pittsburgh going to do here? So yeah, like I said, Nick Bustad could slide into that third line center spot first. See how he does. Maybe they'll play some defensive-minded wingers with him to help prop up his liability in that department, and then throw McCann into that fourth line center. Pittsburgh gets two centers in this deal. That's the whole point. But are the Penguins finished? Is their GM done dealing? Because if Bustad bombs at the center role and ends up playing wing again, maybe Gerard McCann slides to third line center spot, and all of a sudden Pittsburgh's looking for a fourth line center again, or third line center, depending on the big thing is that these guys are there's dexterity with these two centers who can also play wing. Now, let's get into the details of what the Panthers got. And there's also something interesting happening here in the long-term and short-term aspect of it all. Now, Derick Brassard, as I said, he's 31 years old. He's a center. He's 6'1". He shoots left. He's 202 pounds. So far this season, 40 games played. He's had 9 goals, 6 assists for 15 points, and he's been a -6. In last season, in 72 games played, he had 21 goals and 25 assists and 46 points, and he was even in the plus-minus department. Now, he signed through the the rest of this season, 18-19 season. He has a modified no-trade clause, in which case he'll then become a UFA. Now, his annual average cap hit is actually $5 million, but $2 million of it is being retained by the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Panthers will only be paying $3 million of that. And he was originally a 2006 first-round pick, 6th overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then I'm pretty sure he'll slide into that third line center role as well. And then if he stays in Florida for that long, we'll get into that in a second. And then Riley Sheenan. Riley Sheenan was playing. It was interesting because Pittsburgh picked up Derick Brassard, I want to say, in around February of last season. And then they picked up Riley Sheenan in November of last season to play the same position, third line center. Riley Sheenan didn't cut it there, so they went and got Derick Brassard, who bumped Riley Sheenan down to that fourth line center spot. Now, they picked up Sheenan from Detroit early last season, and this year so far in 49 games played, by the way, he's 6'3" with 214 pounds, and he shoots left. So in 49 games played, he's got 7 goals, 2 assists for 9 points, and is a -7. But he also plays the penalty kill, so keep that in mind. Last season, he had 81 games played. He had 11 goals and 21 assists for 32 points and was a +4. And keep in mind, most of that last season was played as a third line center in Pittsburgh until Brassard came in, and then his numbers kind of. So he's also signed through the rest of this season, in which he'll become a UFA for a $2.1 million AAV. He was originally a 2010 round draft pick, which Detroit picked him up 21st overall. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Panthers also get a second rounder and 2 fourth rounders, and they'll be picking up all these two guys combined. It comes to about $5.1 million, and that's a difference of between the players they passed on to Pittsburgh of about -$250,000. Now, it's interesting that Panthers are 11 points out of a playoff spot, and they pick up rentals. So, I think, the talk is from analysts out there that that Florida may try and flip these guys and try and get maybe some prospects, maybe some draft picks. Maybe Winnipeg might be interested in Derick Brassard. as a second-line center. I mean, he did excel in that position for Ottawa. I know it's a bit of a gamble, but if Duchesne is too pricey for Winnipeg, maybe they'll roll the dice on Brassard and see what happens with him. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. Now, all this money, this $5.1 million, will be coming off the books for Florida at the end of the season, and I think that's important also because maybe they want to take a run at Panarin and Bobrovsky, who are becoming UFAs from the Columbus Blue Jackets at the end of the season. Now, I think in order to make some room, they might end up buying out James Reimer. I think he has a $3.4 million cap hit. So if they buy him out, they'll be on the hook. So they'll take 2.4 off of their cap. So they'll be on the hook for 1, and then bring in Bobrovsky, and then have Luongo back him up. And who knows? Maybe Bobrovsky not having the best season so far this year. Maybe they could sign him for a little bit less of a market price than he would go, as if he was having a Vezina season like he did last year. Now, when it comes to Panarin, that might be a bit more interesting because if you remember on an Instagram post this past summer, Panarin was in a picture with Kucherov and Vasilevsky on a beach somewhere in Tampa. So could Tampa be looking at landing Panarin? And might Panarin want to go there instead with his buddies? Obviously, Tampa would have to move some parts around to make that happen. And especially seeing as how Braden Point will be needing a new contract as he'll be coming up to his RFA status. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts circling the parts going to Florida right here. But for Pittsburgh, they get a couple of younger guys at the same position to try and take another charge, and both teams could still not be done moving players around. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this trade, who you think won, if both teams are both done trading or not, what you think might happen in the future. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you really liked it, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And hey, if you happen to have any hockey geek friends, please don't feel shy about sharing. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.